6:25, Mayor.
Thanks everyone for your patience. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of the Wellington Shire Council for the 19th of April 2022. This meeting is a little bit different. It is a hybrid meeting, but it's the first time that we've actually had the Mayor being the person that is not actually in the chamber. So we'll see how we go. So first of all, we'll do a roll call to make sure that you can see and hear me. So Councillor Crossley.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you. Thank you.
Councillor Tatterson.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Marr.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor McKenzie.
Yes, Mayor, I can hear and see you.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes, Mayor, I can hear and see you.
And Councillor Ripper.
Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Thank you, councillors. Members of the public gallery should note that the council records and publishes council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the council meeting but who wish to communicate with the council via the online web form should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please, could gallery visitors, councillors and those invited online attendees ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. And if you could all stand for the acknowledgement of the country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai Kurnai people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Please sit down. We have two apologies. Councillor Rossetti and Councillor Wood are apologies for this meeting. Item 2, do we have any declarations of conflicts of interest?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Marr.
I'd like to declare a general perceived conflict of interest as per section 127 of the Local Government Act 2020 due to owning a property in Grant Street, Yarram, and it's pursuant to 15.1 of the road discontinuance.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Item 3.1, adoption of minutes of previous council meeting. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of the 5th of April 2022.
Is that motion, sorry, do I have someone to, sorry, is that motion opposed? Sorry, I need to move that. I need to second it, sorry, my apologies. Do I have someone to second that motion? I'll get it right.
I'm happy to second, Mayor. Councillor Marr.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Happy with that, Councillor Ripper?
That's fine. Nil comment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item 4, business arising from previous meetings. We have none. Item 5, acceptance of late or urgent items. We have none. Item 6, notices of motion. We don't have any. Item 7, which is receiving petitions or joint letters. I'll hand that over to the Deputy Mayor because I believe we have some people that residents would like to talk to the petition. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We do have some people in the gallery tonight that would like to speak on the petition. I would like to call forward Kathy. Kathy, would like to come forward.
Good evening. So I just had several questions this evening. My name's Kathy Lummis. I submitted the petition to Council a couple of weeks ago and I am a Sale resident. I've just left my phone behind with questions, but I note that Council's got on the background that the petition was received with 108 signatures, so that was the initial submission. Do you have the final count, thank you, at all of what the petition numbers were? So that can be recorded onto the minutes. Can that be found and added?
We can do that.
That would be great. I believe it's in the order of 500, so I'd like that reflected in there. Thank you. Okay, so, and scrolling further down on the agenda items, Council had said that they only have two options to discuss in regards to the petition, and it was basically that they could either follow the orders or not follow the orders. There is another option, and that's one that I believe councils all over the country are doing, are starting to do for their residents, and that is to actually lobby their state governments on behalf of their residents, as is council's role, if I'm not mistaken, is their role and responsibility to actually lobby state government and on behalf of their members. So council were advised of a lot of concerns and a lot of issues that people have in relation to their own health reasonings and impacts, negative impacts that have been happening to them. So I would ask council if they're actually willing to put in a third option there, that they will lobby the government and write letters to the government on behalf of the concerns that have been raised by members of this shire to get some answers and pushback from the council. We can't do anything, state government's not listening to us as individuals, so we're asking the council to do that on our behalf. Can that be added in as a third option?
So just as a technicality, there's a recommendation on the books. It's up to council to either move that recommendation. If an individual councillor wishes to add or reduce or change that recommendation, he or she can do that. So you can certainly ask that question, but it's up to the councillors around the table tonight to make that decision if they so choose to, if that makes sense.
So I'm not sure how I go about actually asking that of council to happen, but...
So it's not, this process is not normally a sort of a narrative, Cathy, but you've made that point clearly to the councillors present. So councillors around the table will have heard that, and they'll take that on board when they make their determination when we get to the recommendation.
Great, thank you. So when council council says on there that they've looked at the financial impact and that there is none in the Shire to residents of the Shire. So I'd like to know how council has come to reach that conclusion and what data you've considered in that statement. We had one person speak at the meeting 2 weeks ago with the petition submission, and just to her family and their business, they're out of pocket over $30,000. Have you surveyed members of the community? Have you surveyed businesses? Why does council have grants available if there's no financial impact in the community? So to make a blatant statement there's no financial impact, I would put to council as incorrect. Communication impact. So council staff, I would suggest, appear to be unfairly censoring members of the public, myself included. I can't get an answer from council as to why I'm banned from their Facebook page. No one will communicate with me. The matter is closed and not open for further discussion. I've asked a specific question and no one will answer it to me. So what council is writing back in letters at the moment, as soon as someone asks a question and tries to have clarification of that, they're just being told the matter is closed and no further correspondence will be entered into. So I would say there's a pretty huge impact on communication in council at the moment. If council's communication skills have been severely impacted, where their staff either cannot or will not engage with members of the community, it's an impact. The next point that I wanted to bring up was council policy impact. So Wellington Shire Council, I would suggest, has this far failed in all of their policy areas in relation to engaging with the community members, and you say there are no impacts. You have failed to cooperate with the community, one of your policy matters. There has been little to no commitment with council to work with or collaborate with any of the negatively impacted community members. Council is absolutely not acting with respect through their demonstration of tolerance or understanding. They are simply shutting down and shutting out members of the community who are negatively impacted by these directives. Council is not showing balance There is little to no experience of fairness, equity, or flexibility when liaising with negatively impacted community members, and the community needs are not being fully evaluated or balanced. Council is not showing professionalism when they refuse to engage in any mechanism to help address concerns raised by the community members. There is absolutely no demonstration of innovative ways to negate some of the issues raised by community members. And as for sustainability, that does not just relate to the environment, that also relates to people who make up our community. We once sustained a caring, compassionate and empathetic community, but this has been allowed to lapse and it's been replaced with hate, fear and division. Now, in regards to council plan, he's saying that, that council says that there are 5 areas of the 2021 to 2025 plan, including better access to key services. So can you please explain how this is not impacted by the Chief Health Officer and state government directives when people are being denied, and council have been advised that people are being denied access to medical care, they're being denied access to essential services such as libraries, and they're being denied access to public toilets. And as someone with a background in pelvic health, I got an issue with that. Resources and staff impact. I'd love to know how many customer complaints the council has had to deal with related to COVID and how many staff hours that ties up on a weekly or monthly basis. And how many council staff have been impacted by the mandates. Do those staff members have concerns or issues with implementing these policies? And have you spoken to your staff members about these? How many of them feel like they're being forced to discriminate against their fellow residents? Because plenty of them have told me that's how they feel, quietly and off to the side. And have you spoken to your staff about these matters? Because a lot of them are guiltily apologising for implementing these policies just so they can keep their jobs. How do the library staff feel having to breach the ethical codes of the Australian Library and Information Association and deny access to what's widely considered an essential service, especially to the elderly, disabled and the homeschoolers of this community? Community impact. Council said there's no community impact. How many letters of impact did the council receive with the petition submission? They were forwarded to all council members. How many did you receive? How many did you read? How many do you need? I helped draft and edit multiple of them and I handed them to council. I would love to know how many letters of impact do you need for it to register as an impact on our community? Because our government said one person who is impacted by COVID, one death from COVID is too many. Well, how many members of our community is too many before you're going to act on their behalf? And if there's no community engagement, no impact on the community, can you explain why there's been over a 900% increase in the views of the meeting from the 15th of March on your YouTube channel? It's normally somewhere around 20 to maybe 150 views. You had over 1,500 views of that. I would suggest that there are some community members who have been impacted. And as for the risk management, since council says that they have undertaken risk assessment, can you please provide copies of the risk assessment that have been conducted? I'd love copies of those. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Cathy. Would anybody else like to speak from the council? Sure. Your name, sorry? Raina.
We need full name.
Raina Longson.
Thank you.
I'm a resident of Sale.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raina.
Probably not for much longer. So I'm stood here tonight because I've listened to Kath, and I'm going to tell you I am impacted. I have gone from earning $1,200 a week to $300 a week. I lost my full-time job when the mandates came in. Okay? I'm about to lose my house because I'm getting kicked out. I have nowhere else to go. I have spoke to the council. I've asked you to get prepared to put me and my family on your doorstep because the price of rentals is above 30% of my income. I can't afford to rent anywhere. So I am a person that's been impacted. Many times I have thought about checking out, but I've thought about my family. I deliver junk mail now. So I have gone from earning that much money to what I'm earning now. And you're saying that there's no impact? I'm living proof. I moved up to Sale nearly 6 years ago because my mother passed away at Ashley House, and I really thought this was a beautiful town. Now I regret it. That's all I'm going to say. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Anybody else would like to talk? Okay, thank you. Mayor, back to you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Do I have someone to move that motion?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Stevens.
I would like to move that in response to the petition presented at the Ordinary Council meeting of 15th of March 2022, Council reiterates its position in writing to the head petitioner. The Council will continue to follow the advice of the Chief Health Officer and obey all lawful directions and regulations as set by the State Government, as it has done since the beginning of the pandemic.
Do I have someone to second that motion?
Councillor Crossley.
Councillor Crossley, thank you. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd just like to make a few observations. I think in relation to the personal comments, I mean, the Council does understand that there has been an impact. I certainly understand there has been an impact on many people. I'm not quite sure. I didn't think, I'll have to go and check this, but I didn't think we had made the statement anywhere that it hasn't. Yeah, but anyway, I'll investigate that further, because certainly as an individual person, I understand that people have been impacted. Following the receipt of the petition at the Ordinary Meeting of Council on the 15th of March, the Mayor did send a letter to the head petitioner on the 21st of March regarding the Council's position on the matter. Councillors have reviewed the letters of impact that have been received, submissions and extra resources provided by the petitioners. Following further review and the consideration of the supporting documentation provided by the head petitioner, councillors unanimously decided that we'll continue to follow the advice of the Chief Health Officer and obey all lawful directions and regulations as set by the State Government, as it has done since the beginning of the pandemic. Just as an interesting addition, just bear with me for one moment, Mayor, while I open this. So there's been a media release that we've received this afternoon, actually, which is very pertinent to what we're talking about here. And it basically says that Premier Daniel Andrews believes Victoria has passed the peak of new Omicron infections and has forecast some of the state's last remaining COVID-19 restrictions will be scrapped very, very soon. Oh, sorry. Oh. Beg your pardon, I'm sorry, I pushed the wrong button then. Oh. I apologise, I'm showing lack of computer skills here. Work has started to consider removing most remaining COVID-19 restrictions, including isolation rules for asymptomatic close contacts and mask mandates in some settings. And this was a statement that was made by the Premier only this afternoon, Mr Mayor. So we would hope that this is a move in the right direction. I mean, I will take my personal assurance to the head petitioner. I will take on board your comments about council advocating on behalf of residents, and I'll have a discussion with my fellow councillors about that for you, because yeah, I mean the council has got an advocacy role, and if the premier's let's press the premier to make a decision sooner rather than later. So thank you for your petition. But the big difficulty for council is that almost as a body that's responsible to the government, controlled by the state government, we basically are in a position where we have to adhere to state government rules, and I know some councils may have taken a different view, but I believe that isn't appropriate for local government to act directly against directions from state government. I think that's about all I need to say, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens.
Just a minute, Mayor. To the gallery, you're happy to stay if you wish, but there'll be normal council work information now if you like, but happy to stay if you want. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Item 8, invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. I have an acknowledgement, or really a thank you. One of our long-standing team members, Marge McGuinness. If you don't know Marge is loved around the office and the general community. Marge is taking a well-earned break before officially retiring at 50 years of service to local government. 50 years, it's quite amazing. Marge started as a typist in the engineers department during her school holidays and then worked in every area of local government, including customer service, local laws, community services, payroll, phone exchange, information management, and even the former Sale Sewerage Authority. It's amazing to see someone that's worked for one organisation for 50 years. She's seen a lot of things that have happened. She's gone from landline phones to huge mobiles and even to virtual online meetings. She operated a mimeograph machine. Now, I had to work out what actually was a mimeograph machine. A mimeograph machine, or a stencil duplicator, Councillor Stevens will probably remember one of these, forced ink through a stencil onto paper. That was actually then replaced by a photocopier. A manual typewriter before moving to an electric typewriter. And then she was onto computers and laptops. So Marge, you've been an important member of our team for many years. Enjoy your retirement and thanks for your contribution over that 50-year period. Item 9.
I think all councillors will concur, Mayor.
Well done. Good clap. Well done. Thanks, Marge. Item 9, questions on notice. I don't believe we have any. Item 10.1, Mayor and Council's report. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Mayor and Councillors' report be noted.
Do I have someone to second that?
Councillor
Marr.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few points to highlight, but as you can see, it's been a busy time for everybody, as usual, in such diversity. But there was just 3 that I thought I should bring to the attention. One was the much-loved return of the Sale Music Festival on the 13th of March. I don't know, we had perfect weather there, and Councillor Ripper officiated for the Mayor at that event to launch it. And the Botanic Gardens were looking spectacular for that event. And as I say, I strolled along in the afternoon and there were family groups scattered throughout the gardens having picnics, and it was just a delight and a great diversity of music, and a well-loved, and congratulations to the hard-working volunteers that make it happen, the sort of volunteers from all areas, the various Lions Club, the Scouts were there, the Youth Council were there, so congratulations to a very successful and beautiful music festival that really utilises the Leaf outdoor area there, and the Botanic Gardens, as I say, were looking their best. Also, on the 18th of March, I know the Mayor attended the One Gippsland, which is a very important organisation that brings together the 6 councils in Gippsland and other key organisations to work together to bring a greater force on bringing regional issues to the forefront of both federal and state governments. The other one I'd like to bring is on the 24th of March was the launch of the Gippsland Art Gallery Foundation. So it was actually formed in 2000, but due to obvious disruptions from COVID, the celebration and the actual launch wasn't able to be held until this year. We were very fortunate to have Rupert, that would be a definite switch. Rupert Meyer, certainly of the Meyer family, that are well known for their huge philanthropic gifts and organisation throughout certainly Victoria. And he spoke really glowingly of the formation of this trust fund, charity trust fund, to enable further purchases into the gallery and to actually assist with the education program and really round out the program for the Gippsland Art Gallery. I think there's somewhat in the collection about of 3,000 items already have either been purchased with funds, bequests and donations of works themselves. There hasn't been this charitable organisation, so there hasn't been a great way to actually get a tax deduction in these bigger gifts. And actually from the announcement, just the day prior to the launch, there was an interest of somebody wishing to donate $150,000 to that trust. So it certainly has created great interest, and also the fact that the gallery is of such high standard, both in the experience there and the standard of the exhibition, that there are many people that are coming to the end of their wishing to downsize, and they have large collections and they're looking for an appropriate institution to leave them to, and they're choosing the Gippsland Art Gallery. So, and the perfect example of that is the current exhibition of Gift, which actually showcases the various works that have been both gifted recently and over the many years from the 60 years of the gallery, basically. The other one that I'd like to highlight is on the 24th of March was the Air Force Week RAF function, and it was Councillor Mackenzie, Ripper and Wood attended that at the RAF base at East Sale, and that was also in coinciding with 100 years of the Royal Australian Air Force. And another celebration of that coming up, if I can do the ad, is the Anzac Weekend Air Show next weekend, which we are all looking forward to. But yes, a broad range of activities by the Mayor and the Councillors over the last month. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Crossley. Item 11, Delegates Report. I believe we have one from Councillor Mackenzie for Star of the South. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is my Delegates Report for Star of the South. On Wednesday, April 6th, the management and staff of Star of the South arranged a field trip for all members of the Community Advisory Group to visualise from various spots along the coastal fringe what impact the wind farms would have from the shore. Some 15 community members and management met at the Star of the South Yarram office, where we were firstly shown their new 3D interactive screen, which depicts the proposed location of the wind turbines from land and sea and how different weather conditions can impact the farm. The 3D screen will be available for all visitors to the Yarram office, as well as field days, and once again showcases Star of the South's engagement with the community. It was then on to the bus, with the first stop being Port Albert, which will be a key port for materials for the construction and ongoing maintenance of the wind farm. Then we visited McLaughlin's and Reeves Beach, with questions and answers around visual interpretation, ongoing studies and biophysics data capture. We then headed out to Gifford West Hall and met Lisa Harrison, whose property will have underground cables commissioned by Star of the South going right through her property. Lisa explained that the location of the underground cables was not ideal, hence Star of the South changed the route to meet Lisa's expectations. During the talk, it was evident that Star of the South once again consulted with not only the landholders but the community. They are transparent, open to change, reply both in written and verbal in a timely fashion, and nothing is too hard. Over the past 18 months, Council have had many renewable operators present their vision, whether it be a wind farm, solar farm or other form of renewable. And as councillors and council management, it is our responsibility that each presenter can show proof that a strong and transparent community consultation has been undertaken. As we all know, renewables are being fast-tracked by both the state and federal governments, and this council may or will be asked to support or advocate for suppliers during our term. So it's imperative that we make the right decisions both for the next council and councillors, but more importantly, our community. In this term of councillors, we need to always ensure that we listen to our community during the transition of renewables so that decisions we make leave a positive legacy for the community and future councillors, and ensure that the players in this space have been open and transparent, just as Star of the South have displayed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Mackenzie. I look forward to going down and having a play with the 3D interactive screen.
That's fantastic.
Item thank you. Item 12.1, the Chief Executive Officer's Report. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the Chief Executive Officer's report be received.
Do I have someone to second that?
Councillor
Crosby. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thanks, Mayor. It's very important in any organisation to touch base with various businesses and in the area. So I'd like to report on the 3rd of March that the CEO attended a meet and greet with the Central Gippsland Health. We have a new CEO at Central Gippsland Health, Mr Mark Digraph, and the GM, Community and Culture, Julie Fote. And once again, as I said, this is important because our hospital here is very important, and we have new CEO, so we'll have new ideas, and we need to know what they are, and we need to keep in touch with what's happening at our hospital. Also on the 9th of March, the CEO attended the West Gippsland Catchment Manager Authority board members, and the Mayor, Councillor Ripper, Councillor Wood, Councillor Taddison, Councillor Mackenzie also attended. Now, that was a wonderful evening because I learnt a lot myself, and I know that the other councillors did too, because once again, catchment authorities are very important. So we have to make a lot of decisions during our council time, and we have knowledge now, and we can put a face to the board members of the West Gippsland Catchment Authority, and there was a couple of staff members there that we can now pick up the phone and visualise to ask pertinent questions that may make a huge impact on decisions that we make. So that's just a couple of important areas that the CEO, thank you CEO, attended. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Ripper. Item 12.2, March 2022 Council Performance Report.
I move...
No, sorry to do that. Councillor Marr.
Yes. I move that Council receive and note the March 2022 Council Performance Report as attached.
Do I have someone to second that motion? Councillor Taddison. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got it on. Yeah. A forecast to the adopted budget reflects a favourable variance of $5.3 million for the year ending 30th of June 2022. The 21-22 forecast has been adjusted to include 50% advance payment of $7.6 million of financial assistance grants from the Victorian Grant Commission. It also includes new and additional grant funding for community projects, including the Radial Renewable Energy Park demo site at $2 million, Cunningham Street Lights 1.6 million, and Street Like LED changeover at 1.3, and the York Street Works of 1 million. The forecast includes estimated year-to-date impacts of COVID on income, offsetting reductions in employee benefits and other ancillary costs, totalling 2.2 million. It's partly offset by increased contractor and material expenditure that's been occurred, particularly with the natural disaster recovery and other community projects. Reduction in capital grants attributed to Roads to Recovery funding being allocated in 2020-21 financial year, and repayment of grant funding of the Wellington Coastal Subdivision Strategy project, which has been made to align with the new agreement which came into effect on the 1st of July 2021. I'd also like to note the hard work of the rate staff, who have undertaken proactive measures encouraging regular payment plans with outstanding debtors. As at the end of March 2022, it's been brought to 17.2 million in outstanding debt as compared to last year with 21.1 million. So well done to them. And overall, there's 68 projects at practical completion, 57 underway, and 16 projects that have been awarded but as yet not commenced. And there are 15 projects in pre-planning. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Item 13.1, Assembly of Councillors. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Tatterson, go ahead.
Thank you. I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Councillor records for the period of 28th of March 2022 until 10th of April 2022.
Do I have someone to second that?
Councillor Marr is happy to.
Councillor Marr, thank you. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Tatterson.
No, nothing more to add to that report, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Tatterson. Item 13.2, Biannual Audit and Risk Committee update. Do I have someone to move that?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move that Council receive the biannual report on the Audit and Risk Committee's activities, findings and recommendations for the period October 2021 to March 2022 as attached.
Do I have someone to second that?
Happy to
Councillor
second.
Crosley. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. The Audit and Risk Committee's objective is to provide appropriate, independent advice and recommendations to Council on matters relevant to the Committee's charter to support Council in discharging its oversight responsibilities. The Audit and Risk Committee is also responsible for ensuring that Council's policies and procedures comply with the overarching governance principles, the relevant acts, regulations and ministerial directions. The committee acts in this capacity by monitoring, reviewing, endorsing and advising on matters as set out in the Audit and Risk Committee Charter, developed in accordance with Section 54 of the Local Governments Act 2020. And I'd like to finish off with the Chair's closing remarks and noting that the Chair is an external consultant and an advocate for us and advisor. I would like to thank the management team for their support and diligence in the running of the committee, and I thank my colleagues Kia Cashman, the new independent members Sarah Heath and Tony Smith, with Councillors Stevens and McKenzie for the contribution to a strong Audit and Risk Committee. Since the last update, we have focused on the ongoing reduction of previous internal and external audit actions, of which good progress is being made. Excess leave and COVID impacts and ways in which management are planning to progressively reduce leave levels. The implementation of suggested improvements that have come from recent VAGA and IBAC investigations across numerous sectors, but which management believes can be utilised to further strengthen organisational governance. It is pleasing to see that management are continually looking for ways to improve governance. This reflects an open and strong organisation culture. Working with management to build upon risk management, a challenge in medium and smaller sized regional councils due to the lack of experienced staff, and the additional resourcing required to achieve this and also continue to maintain a strong culture of governance. The committee's overall assessment during this period is that Council continues to effectively manage operation and financial matters, particularly given the impact of COVID and in consideration of the substantial imposition of legislative and government requirements that were successfully implemented. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Mackenzie. Item 13.3, resolve to advertise draft 2022/2023 budget, proposed rates, fees and charges. Do I have someone to move that?
Yes, Mayor.
Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move that Council advertises draft 2022-23 budget as attached, including fees and charges and multi-year capital projects in accordance with Section 96 of the Local Government Act 2020. And 2, Council considers submissions for the draft 2022-23 budget at a special council meeting on Thursday the 19th of May 2022 at 3 p.m. And 3, Council meet on Tuesday 7th of June 2022 at 3 p.m. to consider the formal adoption of the 2022-23 budget. And 4, Council make the following declarations regarding rates and charges for the period commencing on the 1st of July 2022 and concluding on 30th of June 2023. And that's set out in paragraphs A to H, which are all set out in the recommendation. I'll move accordingly, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have someone to second that motion? Councillor Crossley. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The budget will now be formally advertised for 2022-23 following today's meeting. And the draft budget will be on Council's website together with details on how to provide feedback. And of course, anyone in the community is welcome to make a submission and in relation to the budget, and Council will review all submissions, including any changes to grants, following a special council meeting on the 19th of May 2022, at which submitters will be able to speak on their submissions. And then Council will consider final adoption of the proposed budget at its meeting on the 7th of June 2022. So the COVID pandemic has had significant impact on our communities. We've heard some of that tonight. And we have completed a great deal of work to find cost savings within our operations were reflected in the budget. There's going to be an underlying operating deficit of $258,000, but a comprehensive total surplus expected to be $12.3 million. And that will include capital grants and contributions already committed for the 2022-23 capital program, totalling $42.1 million, and includes many exciting projects such as ongoing work on the Great Southern Rail Trail between Alberton and Welshpool. We've made a commitment to recommence the redevelopment of the Aqua Energy pool site in Sale. We are going to work on the North East Drainage Development in Sale. We're going to do a reconstruction and widening of the Nambrook Sale Toongabbie Road. We are going to do an upgrade for the Stratford Youth Play Precinct, and we're going to do the construction of the Maffra Resource Recovery Facility, that being a transfer station in layman's terms. So as I said, the program for capital works will be $42.1 million. $24.9 million will be funded from the Council's budget, directly rate budget, and $14 million from external grants and contributions, and $3.2 million from new borrowings. In addition to the capital works program, we will spend a further $7.5 million in rural areas on our regular maintenance programs, including roadside vegetation management, fire breaks, rural road reseals, drainage and gravel roads, and another $9.1 million on maintaining our infrastructure and open spaces. There will be total rates and charges income of $66.6 million, which of course is capped. The total rate budget is capped by the state government's rate cap of no more than 1.75% under the Victorian government's fair go rate system. And that therefore means that we have to live with lower rate increase than the underlying rate of inflation. Which is an issue because, of course, we've heard about the rising cost of materials and contractors in the current climate. Council will, as it always has done, continue to look for efficiencies and savings as it works within this rate cap. Of course, the increase in rates will not be even because property markets have changed a lot in the past 12 months in regional Victoria, so there will be some variation in rates between individual properties and property types. And that, of course, is based on the movement in individual valuations, which are now determined completely independently by the state Valuer General and conveyed to Council. I think we have just received recently the current valuations based on the 1st of January 2022. The 2022-23 budget supports our key strategic objectives in our 2021-25 Council Plan. And our key strategic areas are 1, environment and climate change, 2, economy and sustainable growth, 3, livability and wellbeing, and 4, services and infrastructure. So this budget for Council 2022-23 will demonstrate our ongoing commitment to combating climate change, and that's going to be shown by our collaboration, which I can't even say that word, with the Victorian Energy Collaboration, and by expanding our Victorian electric vehicles charging network. And of course we have already got the electric vehicle charging point, which is being well used at the Port of Sale on the bottom of this building. The Yarram electric vehicle charging station is currently being installed as we speak, and we have also done development work for the proposed one at Hayfield. So that's exciting news for people with electric vehicles. And we are also developing our emergency management preparedness, another word I can't say, which is being funded by the Leave Early Access Road Network Management Program and also by our emergency management staff. We've had a very interesting year. I don't know if interesting is the right word, Mr Mayor, in relation to emergency management, because our staff have had to deal with a number of major emergency management issues with flooding, rain and storm conditions in the last 12 months. There's also considerable work taking place in the community space, and I'm pleased to report that this budget has allocated funds to provide a new Wellington kindergarten centralised registration system, and we are also working on the funding needs of our early childhood network, because of course the council owns a number of buildings that need to be expanded or redeveloped because of the state government's 3-year-old kinder program, which is just being introduced. So overall, Mr Mayor, this budget will see support for business and locals as we recover and emerge together from the COVID-19 pandemic, and we look forward to working with the community to deliver these exciting projects throughout the financial year. Thanks, Mayor.
Well said, Councillor Stevens. Item 14.1, monthly planning decisions, February 2022. Do you have someone to move that? Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council note the report on recent planning permit trends and planning application determinations between the 1st of February and 28th of February 2022.
Do you have someone to second that? Councillor Crosley. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a short note that there were 46 decisions for the month of February. There's a strong continuing 2-lot subdivision throughout the Shire, which may relate to the lack of available building blocks throughout. The estimated value of works as per the Planning Trends Report, which is found at attachment 2 of this motion touches $20 million to FEP, with decisions issued within the last 60 days dropping to 80% from our 100% guaranteed tally. However, this is possibly reflecting upon the complexity of work that's currently before our planners, as well as resourcing. So I certainly say well done to them. They've been doing a remarkable job under the circumstances, and we'll certainly enjoy working and seeing what they can do in the future.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Item 15.1, road discontinuance, side and rear of 110 to 112 Grant Street in Yarram. Do I have someone to... Councillor Marr, would you like to read out again your declaration of conflict?
No, I just need to confirm that I have a conflict of interest with regard to a perceived conflict as per section 127, as expressed earlier.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Do I have someone to move that motion?
Yes, Mayor.
Councillor Stevens.
Yeah. I'm pleased to say I think I worked out I parked on this unused road about 3,700 times because it's directly behind my old shop, which I should say I no longer own, so I've got no conflict of interest. But you didn't really want to know that, just want me to move the motion, I know. That pursuant to section 206, including clause 3 of Schedule 10, section 207A and section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, Council resolves to advertise its intention to discontinue a road at the side and rear of 110 to 112 Grant Street, Yarram, and the land from the road be retained for municipal purposes. And 2, Council place a notice of the proposed discontinuance of a road at the side and rear of 110 to 112 Grant Street, Yarram, in the local newspaper, and serve a copy of the notice on statutory authorities. And 3, Council appoints 3 councillors, being Councillor Tatterson, Councillor Stevens and Councillor Mackenzie, plus an alternative representative being Councillor Crosley, to form the Grant Street Road Discontinuance Committee that is established by Council under section 223 1B1 of the Act, to consider written submissions, objections, and to hear any persons who in their written submission under section 223 of the Act have requested that they be heard in support of their submission objection. And 4, in the event of no objections, Council resolves to discontinue the road at the side and rear of 110 to 112 Grant Street, Yarram, and place a notice in the Victorian Government Gazette and lodge a title plan to this effect with Land Use Victoria.
Do I have someone to second that motion?
I would like to second that motion.
Councillor
Thank you,
Ridva.
Mayor. Thank you.
Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that there's a great deal needs to be said in addition to this, but this is to basically resolve a matter or an issue where the old Shire of Alberton used to, for some reason, want to create strange road, or I think it was probably back in the day when there was the Nightman and they needed laneways for that. So that's going back to a fair way, more information than you need to know. And really it's quite, this unused road is quite pointless in the current scheme of things, Mr Mayor, because it really just forms part of a large open space car park at 110 to 112 Grant Street. So basically we will be fixing up an old anomaly we no longer need.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. Item 15.2, Woorarra Road, Yarram, Morwell Road, Landslip, rectification works. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Crosby.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that 1, Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential tender evaluation report of the Council meeting agenda for contract 2022-082 Woorarra Road and Yarram Morwell Road Landslip rectification works, and 2, the information contained in the confidential attached contract 2022-082 Woorarra Road and Yarram Morwell Road Landslip rectification works and designated confidential under section 3(1) confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020 by the General Manager, Built and Natural Environment on the 8th of April 2022 because it relates to the following grounds: 2. Private commercial information, being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that is released, that if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaker to disadvantage by designation confidential information under Section 3.1, confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020, except that once this recommendation has been adopted, the name of the successful tenderer can be made public.
Do I have someone to second that motion?
Yes, Mayor,
Councillor
I
Ripper.
second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. And I'd like to announce the successful tenderer being Ground Technique Excavations Proprietary Limited. Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Mayor. And as Councillor Stevens referred to in his budget, speaking to the budget motion, we have had some significant rain events and storms which really impacted the southern part of the Shire, which was indicated in this is that there has been 27 landslips identified on these roads, which basically is between Yarram and Morwell, so it's in that area that was really flattened of our Shire with those 2 or 3 major storms and flood events. So this has been the 5 of the landslips that occurred during the June 2021 flood, has been identified as listed as an emergency event. So the council officers are able to apply to Emergency Management Victoria and Regional Roads Victoria for funding as part of Wellington Shire's Council ongoing asset restoration for works from these major events. So the funding for the rectification is yet to be formally confirmed, but this is the process that we go under, and hopefully we receive those funds from the other government agencies to rectify those impacts. But this is something that we're going to see more and more of, unfortunately, due to climate change, and so hopefully that there will be ways that we can actually look at making sure that these things can be rectified in a rapid system in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Crossley. I'll just check with the CEO. Is there any online comments?
No, nothing in the chat room, Mayor.
And Deputy Mayor, is there any gallery people that would like to speak?
Everybody okay? No? All good, Mayor?
Yep,
All good?
Oh, sorry?
yep, we do have somebody.
Oh, sorry. Apologise. Would you like to present? Yes? Sorry.
Come in.
And just your name, surname and main name, please.
Oh, thanks very much, Mayor and Councillors. My name's John Allman. I'm currently a permanent resident at Seaspray, and I was born and bred in Sale and grew up at Fulham. Holidayed in Seaspray for my whole life. Family have had a house there for about 60 years. And it's a wonderful community. I'm sure you'll agree with me, the people that know Seaspray, and much of that is due to the fact that there are so many volunteer members of the community down there that do so much for others, and that's highly valued. And whatever I say tonight is not about to be critical of any of those people or to undermine that community spirit that does exist. But we have a problem, and the problem rests with the proposal to build a pump park at Seaspray and the fact that there has been a lack of community voice around whether that project is supported by the community or not. And I know that some councillors and key people from Wellington Shire have been told there's been strong community support for a pump track. And I'm here to say that's not an accurate description of what's happening. People either don't know about the pump park, they don't know what a pump park is, and those that do know what a pump park is are saying, does that really fit with Seaspray? And I don't need to tell you what a unique environment Seaspray offers, and that's why people love to holiday there, that's why people love to live there, is because of what it offers. It doesn't have the Ferris wheels and the restaurants and the shops, but it's got a great community and wonderful passive recreation areas. It's got so much to offer with pristine natural environment. So I was really pleased on Thursday to get a phone call from David Morgan, your CEO, who acknowledged the fact that, along with others, I had written to him and to councillors regarding our concerns, and I was very appreciative of the fact that he acknowledged the concern as a genuine one, has committed to look into it, and no doubt will advise or report to council on how best to proceed. If the pump park proposal is to go ahead, then how do we get community voice? And what we're suggesting is, well, the first question is, do you want a pump park at Seaspray? It's not about the location. It's about whether pump park is something that Seaspray would value, the community would value, and something that people would utilise and support. Following that question, if the answer is yes, well, there can be a consultation about where it best should be located, get the experts in, and so on. So I think that commitment that David's given, that will occur, is appreciated. You'd know better than me about how to best conduct a survey of this kind, because very often the question can determine the answer. Depending on what question you ask, can determine whether the answer is yes or no. So that's something that David and I might have the opportunity to discuss, but I really appreciate being able to express this for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now, our CEO would like to respond.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was just going to add, John, I saw I missed a couple of calls. From you today. We've been in council meeting all day and workshops at its pipe, so this is a good opportunity. But council went through that consultation or the discussion that you and I had and agreed to the format of the consultation. So I'm happy to catch up with you straight after this meeting, which will be in a couple of minutes, and just confirm that process. But it was along the lines of the discussion we had, which I'm sure you'll be happy about. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Based on no other gallery comments, Deputy Mayor?
Any more gallery comments? No, all good, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. In that case, I'll declare the meeting closed at 7:28. Thank you, everyone.